Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Tech Tune Up with me, your host, Paul Meeks. Today is January 28, 2025, and we have a lot to share today. Hopefully, it's impactful. Please, as we go through the program, get your questions ready, and I'll answer them at the end. And I'm always happy to do that. If we can't get them done on air, I'm super easy to find through these guys over my shoulder, Harvest Portfolio Management here in Charleston, South Carolina. And of course, this program always faithfully hosted by my buddies at Benzinga on here, the YouTube channel. So first of all, we have to talk about the biggest elephant, and this is a huge elephant in the room that caused a huge drubbing yesterday in our tech stocks, particularly the AI infrastructure names. That is the announcement by the Chinese AI lab DeepSeek that they created a pretty good model with pretty good specs and pretty good performance that can compete with most US models. And they claim that they built this model in only 2 months and they spent only $5.6 million doing it. Of course, the AI infrastructure trade has carried our tech sector the last couple of years. Think about the semiconductor companies, the networking companies, the server companies that get all of their gear in the data centers that are hosted by these hyperscalers to build and do inference testing on large language models. So if this is legit, obviously people say, wow, do I need to spend tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, which is what they're spending now, when I could do it so much more efficiently, inexpensively? So let's talk about that. The stocks have started to bounce a little bit today, but I tell you this, the proof in the pudding, or at least most of the proof, will come tomorrow night when 3 of the big AI infrastructure spenders report their quarterly results and give guidance for the next quarter. They are Meta, Microsoft, huge AI infrastructure spenders, and even Tesla, which is supposed to spend about $10 billion on AI infrastructure over the next 12 months. Microsoft has been talking about a $80 billion run rate, and Meta is talking about a $60 to $65 billion run rate. Last year, just 4 of the major AI hyperscalers spent over $230 billion on this stuff. And before the DeepSeek announcement, they were expected by Wall Street to increase their spending from 24 to 25 by anywhere from what I've read, 20% to 40%. So would all the bets be off now that DeepSeek has given us their thoughts? We'll see. So a couple things. First of all, this is a Chinese AI lab. And yes, DeepSeek is real. Yes, it has been tested and it has pretty good performance. I don't dispute that. What I dispute is, did it only cost $5.6 million and only 2 months to build? I doubt it. Remember, this is all geopolitics. Think about it. DeepSeek first introduced their model essentially on the same day that President Trump was inaugurated. And remember, Trump and company, including SoftBank, the Japanese tech company, Oracle, and OpenAI, announced right after he was inaugurated a $500 billion spending on AI infrastructure deal over the next 4 years. And so, of course, the Chinese, embroiled in a trading war with us, wants to show that they can do it better, more cheaply, and blow up Trump's signature AI infrastructure project. So we'll see. Again, the key will be this. Tomorrow night, and I'll be following both of these quarters live, Meta and Microsoft chiefly will be talking, hopefully reconfirming their AI infrastructure spending. I gave you the numbers. Microsoft right now is spending at about an $80 billion clip, and Meta is into it for 65 billion. If they say that they will continue and maybe even increase their spending from there, which was the consensus view until DeepSeek came on the scene about a week ago, then I bet these stocks rally tomorrow. And they won't make up all of their lost ground from the drubbing they took yesterday, but I bet we have a big rally. Now, it wouldn't come tomorrow, right? Because these companies announce their results after the close. This would be a potential Thursday rally. And it'll make us feel much better that these guys will continue spending on Nvidia chips. And then next week, we'll have confirmation, hopefully from Amazon and Google. And then if they all sing from the same hymnal, then we will have confirmation. And I think that these stocks will rally and rally very nicely towards the end of the week. So I'm sticking with all of them and some more. I'll get to that in a second. But I just don't have the balls to buy them ahead of these announcements. And, I only have to wait another day, right? If I had to make a choice and quarterly earnings season wasn't for another month or so, I'd have to make a choice without the data. But I don't like making choices when I can get a fresh download of data so soon. And I'm talking as soon as tomorrow night with the other key companies on this AI infrastructure trade talking about their spending as soon as next week. So that's what I think about the giant elephant in the room. So let's get into what we usually do, some of our stock tells since our show last week and how they more broadly impact things in the tech sector. Microsoft and Amazon, unfortunately, are back in the crosshairs of the EU regulators. And these guys are jumping on right when Trump is pushing back since he's been inaugurated. So expect more of this. And what's happening now is Microsoft and Amazon have been labeled by the EU regulators as dominant cloud infrastructure plays and purportedly using their position to disadvantage their customers. We'll see what happens, but stay tuned. There'll just be more and more and more of that. The next thing I think is actually kind of funny. The meme coins for Donald and Melania Trump. I think it's just a joke. And if I were you, if you had a chance anyway to sell into this, I'd do it. Right? There are going to be some Trump trades, those early from beginning of October when it looked like Trump was going to win the election. I call them Trump 2.0 trades. Some will stick and some won't. And this is just an example of something that's an absolute scream, in my opinion. In the last couple of days, SK Hynix reported their results. And SK Hynix is super important because the South Korean company is the leader in high bandwidth memory, which is memory DRAM chips for AI infrastructure. And even though they had a blowout quarter, their stock still went down based on their guidance, which makes me worry about all of the memory plays like Samsung and here in the States, Micron, which is a stock that I've recommended in the past. But here's the deal. Their high bandwidth memory or AI stuff last year quadrupled from the year before. So the good stuff is very, very good. The problem is their legacy business where they make memory chips for consumer electronics, chiefly smartphones and PCs, sucks. Remember, we all thought that, I didn't, and I said so here, but a lot of people thought that once you put AI chips on board a smartphone or a PC, which we call edge devices, everybody and their brother was going to buy a new smartphone or PC. Well, that did not happen. I actually think when Apple reports their results, you're going to be really disappointed with their iPhone volumes. So we'll see what happens. As of now, I'm looking at the positive, which is the strong high bandwidth memory, and not surprised by the weakness in consumer electronics legacy DRAM memory. The next is Meta. And Meta, they're going to report tomorrow night. And of course, what they say about their AI infrastructure 2025 budget will be super, super important. Of course, the other thing they're doing now, which I think is kind of cagey and opportunistic, is with Instagram Reels. they are trying to take advantage and take market share from TikTok with all this confusion if TikTok is going to exist in the United States or not after the 75-day Trump period to find a potential US buyer. So we'll see. I expect good results from them. Though, you know what? I'm a little bit anxious too about what they say about their deep seek threat and AI budget. But if you were to press my feet to the fire, I'm going to say that they're going to reconfirm that budget and we'll feel much better. So Meta is a stock among the Mag 7, and there's not many stocks in the Mag 7 that I support, is one that I support. I was interested to see the announcement that Anthropic, which is the Claude large language model, just did another funding round at a $60 billion valuation. So people that invest in private companies are telling you that all is well in AI. And there were big support. Actually, the lead investors in this particular round were your buddies, Amazon and Google. We'll be hearing from them next week. Next, I had recommended a week or so ago, Guidewire, GWRE. This is kind of a weird tech play, or maybe an offshoot tech play, because it's essentially cloud services for insurance companies. But they had a nice quarter. Numbers are going way up. And you know what? Even after its big run, I probably would buy Guidewire here, and I have. Another thing that I think is very funny and very dubious is the rise we had recently in all these space companies, you know, based on this love fest between Musk and Trump and more. This is what I look like. I think the space companies are probably a short. These companies that are least publicly traded have been dogs. And this is just like my call a couple weeks ago to short the quantum computing companies, because that was all hype. And then a year ago, I had a pretty good call on some of the early players that I thought were going to be busts in AI. Remember Big Bear AI and SoundHound and C3 AI. But I will tell you what I do when I short stocks is I jump on these overhyped situations. But when they drop, I very quickly close out my short position. I don't do anything long because over time, you know, stocks go up. And I only see terminal or permanent shorts when I see the overhyped situation combined with accounting fraud. So TikTok, we'll see what happens here. I hope that TikTok, and they're talking with a number of US partners, I hope TikTok merges with Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI is the AI-driven search company that competes with Google. And they're supposed to be talking about a deal where when all is said and done, when the deal closes, the US government will own 50% of TikTok. And even though Perplexity AI is not that well known yet, if they can actually cede 50% of the ownership to the US government, that deal might go to the very top of Trump and his advisors' list for consideration. Because we also know Oracle is sniffing around. We also know Microsoft is sniffing around and more. But I do like what could happen from a US national security interest and also leveraging the AI cred of Perplexity AI and bringing TikTok into that fold. We'll see what happens. That's my wish list. Last program I previewed, because the conference call was going to be later that day, Netflix, and told you I liked it. I was a little bit worried about the valuation. I was so impressed with their results, well beyond even my rosiest forecast. And when the stock got hit hard on this deep seek news the other day, I actually did buy Netflix. So the bottom line is, guys, during this recent carnage, the only tech stock I bought, Netflix. Stargate, everybody has heard about it. This is what the Chinese are trying to combat against, right? This is we will spend $500 billion on AI infrastructure in 4 years. Announcement from Trump and company, including Oracle, SoftBank, the big Japanese tech company, and also our friends at OpenAI. we'll see what happens. There's always announcements, and a press release and a press conference are one thing. Reality is something else. And we've seen particularly that with Trump and his very aggressive rhetoric. But I actually think this announcement really gave the insight to the Chinese to counter with their own PR DeepSeek announcement. SAP, which is one of the world's largest enterprise resource planning companies, had a very good quarter. And a lot of people don't follow this, right? Because it's a German company. But they had a pretty good quarter, even in showing some momentum in AI, which I'm always looking for AI use cases. But when asked in the question and answer session on the quarterly webcast, the CFO did say, if the DeepSeek model passes our security requirements, we'll consider it. So you do have a major worldwide company saying that, yes, they will take a look at DeepSeek. So take that for what you will. Of course, the big AI infrastructure spenders will be confirming their budgets for 25 or not. And we'll know that in 24 to 48 hours. One of the stocks that I've bought recently, I'm always looking for derivative plays, particularly when mainstream tech, I think, is overpriced or somehow dicey. But Boeing just announced their quarter, and their brand new CEO do what brand new CEOs always do. They kitchen sink it, which they just write off everything and blame it on the incompetent CEO who preceded them. So I think Boeing has taken its beatings and more intentionally to lower the expectations bar so this new CEO can more easily hurdle over it. I'm going to take another look at Boeing pretty carefully. Stock is starting to look better on the price chart, and I am with a starter position. I may increase it. Quarterly earnings season, guys, it is upon us, and it is so important. I used to think a couple of days ago it was important, as it always is, but now it's uber important because the continuation and the rebound of the AI infrastructure trade depends on the confirmation or reconfirmation of the AI infrastructure spending budgets of the major hyperscalers, all that report in the next 2 weeks. It is a hugely important quarterly earnings season for tech. So let me get into some of our tech picks. Hey, you guys, I've shook up this list a little bit because, I'm a little bit worried. I'll feel better about the AI infrastructure building trade in 48 hours after we get tonight's report from Meta and Microsoft. So I've removed some of those. I haven't sold them. The only thing I've done is, and I got a lot of cash, is I bought some Netflix. All this other stuff is I'm waiting for this confirmation. So in yellow are my bullpen, my weights. And when I say waiting, I'm waiting for these major reports just tomorrow night. But going into the quarterly season, I still am buying. Like, say, for example, I got a new account in today. I probably, even with the absence of near-term info, I probably would own Meta and Amazon and Taiwan Semiconductor. Netflix is my favorite right now. Bought some yesterday. Google, Guidewire that I explained. PayPal has come back, and I'm kind of interested in PayPal. I talked about Citigroup. What is a tech analyst doing with Citigroup? Well, I got a pretty good contact who is a very good financials analyst. He turned me on to Citigroup on another television show that I do. And that has been a home run so far, and I'm sticking with Citigroup. And then you see there's a slew of other names, but again, an important quarterly earnings season has just become even more sensitive, even more important. So I am super excited and a little bit anxious about what the hyperscaler AI spenders say tomorrow night after the close. So with that, let's get into some of the broader trends. So not only do we have this big test with Meta and Microsoft's AI infrastructure confirmation of their 25 budgets tomorrow or not, but there are some other things that are going on. Tomorrow is one of the meetings, the next meeting of a Federal Reserve Board. If you take a look at the CME FedWatch tool, which I do daily, there is 100% chance that the Fed will stand pat tomorrow and interest rates will not change. If you take a look at the next meeting, because the Fed meets about every 6 weeks, if you like it or not, the next meeting, which I believe is scheduled for March 19, there is only a 60-70% chance, or there's a 60-70% chance that the Fed stays unchanged again. And so continued drops in the Fed funds benchmark rate are not coming, or they're not coming soon. There's been a hesitation in this easy monetary policy by Jay Powell, the Fed chair, and company. So it won't be happening tomorrow, 100% certainty. And it won't be happening the next meeting, March 19th, with a 60-70% certainty. When I take a look at what I like to call in the classroom, America's risk-free rate, which is the current yield on the 10-year Treasury note. Right now, it's about 4.6 or so. For tech companies to continue to rally through 25, we probably need that yield to be sub 4.5%. And if it rises, if some of Trump's programs are inflationary and the Fed has to go in the other direction and raise rates, which would be super scary, if you get the 10-year Treasury yield to 5%, then unfortunately, we're going to have a beating with aggressive growth stocks. So those are kind of your min-max things to looking for what I call America's risk-free rate, the yield each and every day that you can look up very easily on your phone for the U.S. Treasury 10-year note. So I told you some of this is Trump bashing from abroad, but whereas tech companies will get some regulatory relief since he's president, the regulatory threats, particularly from the European Union, look to increase under his presidency. And so anyway, I'm kind of mixed on it. It really depends on how active in the European Union your favorite tech company is. But unfortunately, it's going to be nasty. And this is nastiness on top of already the very nasty relations between the Chinese and the Americans. I do like to see, like I mentioned with Anthropic a few minutes ago, increased rounds of funding for private companies that every time they raise more money, valuation of the company goes up significantly, and they're drawing in marquee, deep-pocketed partners. Like I mentioned in the most recent round for Anthropic, which is the Claude large language model, $60 billion valuation, which is absolutely enormous for a private company. Lead investors, Amazon and Google. As long as we see that trend, because the private equity guys and the private credit guys are pretty smart, that should bleed into success of our valuations in the publicly traded markets. And so I told you before, this quarterly earnings season, super important. It's always super important, but it's even more important now because of my anxiety, everybody's anxiety over U.S. AI infrastructure spending. Now that DeepSeek, the Chinese claim they can do it more quickly for less. And then the last thing before we move into the questions, so get them ready. I was very interested, and I watched the video of a presentation, and you probably saw it too, that Elon Musk gave to a very conservative right-wing German audience. And if you listen to him, it sounded pretty fascist. And so think about it. I'm sure that Trump and Musk are in the same grouping as far as their conservative ideology. But, Musk if he crosses Trump too much, there's going to be a parting of the ways. These are two alpha males. Do you really think they can coexist for 4 years? And you have a situation where when Trump was up on the podium to announce the $500 billion Stargate AI infrastructure spending, Musk, who was not there, the same afternoon tweets that the partners aren't going to be able to carry through on that spending because they don't have the funding. And so you had a marquee announcement by the President of the United States, almost poo-pooed within hours by Musk on social media. So anyway, I see ultimately problems brewing, particularly if Musk starts to counter publicly and embarrassingly some of Trump's initiatives, because we know he can't stand for that. So I'll see what happens, because if we do have a fracture between those two gents, it is going to impact the tech sector, right? It is definitely going to impact the Trump 2.0 trades. So that's just my thought. We'll see. It's more of me being a psychoanalyst than a semiconductor analyst, but we'll see what happens. But now to conclude, let's answer some of your questions. Thoughts on TEM? Are you talking about TSM? Because I don't have any thoughts on TEM. If you're talking about TSM, I am a fan of Taiwan Semiconductor. Everybody knows it. And I think unlike some of the AI infrastructure plays that got hammered yesterday, I would buy Taiwan Semiconductor despite the anxiety right here, right now. The next one, talking about a company called Tempus. Sorry, I don't know it. Thoughts on Meta? Yeah, Meta is one of the few companies in the Mag 7 that, yes, I would buy ahead of their earnings announcement. So that gives you up until 4 p.m. I think that they'll have a good quarter in their digital ad business. I think they'll talk about some of their initiatives in AI computing, particularly the Lambda model. And I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, that they continue to reiterate their $60 to $65 billion AI infrastructure spending for 2025. All right, guys, appreciate your questions. If you have lingering questions, very easy to find me, right? Very easy to find me through Benzinga. I'm all over LinkedIn with most of my comment on all the different social media and television programs in which I appear. And then check us out here, Harvest Portfolio Management in Charleston, South Carolina. You guys remember, we're back to a weekly cadence. So I'll see you this time next week. Have a good one.